The first hint of something utterly extraordinary wasn't a sound at all, but a subtle tremor. Not the rhythmic thrum of a distant train, nor the deep rumble of an approaching storm. No, this was a more delicate, almost organic vibration that seemed to ripple up from the earth itself, through the insulated ground of the tent, right into the sleeping bag where Elias lay. He was deep in the Black Forest, nestled in a clearing he'd discovered years ago, a secluded pocket of ancient trees, far from any marked trails. Elias cherished these moments of profound solitude, where the only sounds were the whisper of the wind through pine needles and the distant hoot of an owl. But this morning, the silent pre-dawn air held something else entirely. His eyes flickered open, not to the alarm he'd set for sunrise, but to an instinctual unease. The tremor persisted, faint but undeniable, almost like the slow, deliberate step of something incredibly heavy. Elias slowly unzipped his sleeping bag, the nylon rustling softly, and cautiously peered out the mesh flap of his tent. The forest was still cloaked in the deep indigo of pre-dawn, the tree lines a darker silhouette against the fading night sky. For a moment, he saw nothing but the familiar, comforting shadows. And then, at the very edge of the clearing, where the ancient pines stood sentinel, an impossible shape began to emerge. It wasn't a fallen log, nor an oddly shaped rock. It was a hut, a small, rickety wooden hut, no bigger than a garden shed, with a steeply pitched roof and a single unlit window. But what held him utterly transfixed, what made his breath catch in his throat, was that this hut was not stationary. It was moving, slowly, ponderously, on two impossibly long, gnarled legs that could only be described as chicken legs. Yes, a hut on chicken legs, striding with an unhurried gait across the forest floor, its wooden walls creaking faintly with each deliberate step. Elias didn't blink. He couldn't. His mind struggled to reconcile the image with anything rational. It wasn't a dream. The cool morning air on his face, the faint scent of pine and damp earth, grounded him in reality. This was real, and it was walking. A strange calmness settled over him, displacing the initial shock. This wasn't threatening, not in the way a wild animal might be. It was simply anomalous, profoundly, wonderfully anomalous. He watched as the hut continued its slow procession, heading towards a denser part of the woods where the trees grew thick and close. Without a moment's hesitation, Elias slipped out of his tent. He didn't bother with shoes, his bare feet meeting the cool, damp earth as he began to follow, keeping a respectful distance. The hut on chicken legs didn't seem to notice him, or perhaps it simply didn't care. Its purpose, whatever it was, appeared entirely self-contained. He tracked it for what felt like an hour, deeper into the ancient forest where the light barely filtered through the dense canopy. The air grew cooler here, and the silence was more profound, broken only by the rhythmic creak of the hut's wooden frame. Eventually, the hut slowed, its long legs settling into a final, deliberate stance beside a moss-covered boulder. It stopped. Elias stopped too, his heart thrumming with a mixture of wonder and anticipation. What now? He waited, his gaze fixed on the hut's small, dark window. Nothing stirred. He took a cautious step forward, then another, drawn by an irresistible pull he couldn't name. He was close enough now to see the intricate carvings on the hut's door, symbols that seemed ancient and forgotten. And then, the door creaked open, just a fraction, a sliver of darkness, and then a figure emerged. It was a woman, seemingly old, her face a tapestry of wrinkles etched by time and perhaps by stories untold. She wore simple, earth-toned clothing, and her eyes, though shadowed, held an unnerving depth. But it was her smile that truly froze Elias. It was a slow, deliberate smile that revealed not teeth of bone or enamel, but teeth of dark, polished iron. She looked directly at him, her iron teeth glinting faintly in the dim forest light. And she whispered, her voice like the rustle of dry leaves, yet clear and resonant, "The bones remember you." Elias stood utterly still. The words hung in the air, echoing not just in the silence of the forest, but within some deep, forgotten chamber of his own mind. The bones remember you. What bones? His own? The bones of his ancestors? The very bones of the earth beneath his feet? He felt a peculiar sensation, a sudden, almost dizzying understanding that transcended mere language. It wasn't a threat, nor a welcome. It was simply a statement of profound, ancient knowledge. He searched her eyes, those deep pools of knowing, trying to find an answer, a hint, anything. But there was only the quiet certainty, a recognition that seemed to pierce through the layers of his modern existence to something far older, far more fundamental. He felt seen, truly seen, in a way he never had before, as if she knew not just his present self, but the echoes of every step his lineage had taken on this ancient ground. The moment stretched, suspended, thick with unspoken mysteries. He had no words. What could he say to such a pronouncement? He could only stand there, humbled and strangely open to the impossible truth she had just laid before him. Her gaze softened slightly, and a faint, almost imperceptible nod. Then, as quietly as she had appeared, she turned and slipped back inside the walking hut. The door closed with a soft thud. The hut on chicken legs then began its slow, deliberate steps once more, moving away from the boulder, deeper still into the ancient black forest, its rhythmic creak fading into the profound silence. Elias watched until it was no more than a dark, bobbing shape swallowed by the dense trees, a dreamlike vision that had stepped momentarily into his reality. He was left alone, standing barefoot on the moss, the cool earth grounding him, yet his mind soaring with the impossible. The bones remember you. The words lingered, not as a riddle to be solved, but as a truth to be absorbed. This encounter hadn't been a frightening one. It had been an awakening. It had shifted something within him, a subtle but profound recalibration of what he perceived as possible, as real. A forest no longer felt simply like a beautiful place to escape. It felt alive with ancient hidden knowledge, with presences that walk just beyond the veil of everyday perception. He walked back to his campsite, the morning sun now filtering through the canopy, painting the forest floor with dappled light. His tent, his familiar gear, his coffee pot, they all seemed slightly different now, imbued with the echo of a profound mystery. He brewed his coffee, the mundane act a stark contrast to the otherworldly encounter, but infused with a new sense of wonder. The Black Forest, he realized, held secrets far deeper than he had ever imagined, and sometimes, if you were quiet enough and open enough, those secrets would reveal themselves, often in the most unexpected and unforgettable ways. And you too will have had an encounter that defied explanation, a moment when the world showed you a glimpse of its deeper, stranger truths. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this story, or perhaps your own experiences that linger in the realm of the unexplained. Feel free to share your reflections in the comments below. If this tale resonated with you, consider subscribing for more stories that explore the edges of our understanding. Until next time, keep your mind open to the quiet whispers of the world.